All right, everyone. According to my clock, it is 2 p.m., and I'm going to welcome everyone and open up this regular meeting of the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees. And as usual, we will sit. And welcome back, everybody. It's good to see you after a little break. I love everybody, but it was good to not see you for a while. Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Thank you, Madam President. President Taylor.
I'm here. Out of practice. We're good.
Yes.
Give us a little grace today. We're out of practice.
Vice President Nicolette.
Good afternoon.
I am here. Trustee Church.
Here.
Trustee Mayberry.
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Here.
Trustee Smith. Our student's not here, but we have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you very much, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Susan Infield, now we can say our new superintendent, because our outgoing has gone out, right? But welcome you to your first meeting in person, so we're so glad to have you here. Me too. All right, that being said, thank you for volunteering to lead us in the pledge.
Other duties as assigned. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, we're going to go right to our consent agenda. This is agenda item 2.0, agenda item 2, and this is our approval of consent agenda. We're considering the consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.40. We had a couple of things happen. Just as a reminder, there are a lot of consent agenda items, much more than usual. One, we missed a meeting, and then there are things that the business that has to be taken care of as we begin a new fiscal year, which also elevates our account. So that's why it's so large. During this time, people had a couple questions about that. That's why there were so many. And so I am looking to, I know my colleague Trustee Church, and looking to any others who, from the dais who may have consent agenda items that they would like to pull for individual consideration. Trustee Church, and thank you for the email. I'm going to try to follow with you so we don't miss anything. Go ahead.
Thank you, and I do apologize. The email was sent last night. I'll try and do better next time. So yes, we have 40 agenda items under consent. I'd like to pull 2.02, hope I get this right, then 2.12 and 2.13, I believe, if you agree, can be heard jointly, 2.14, 2.15, 2.22, 2.30, 2.33, and then 2.34, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7, and I would propose possibly, if it meets your agreement, that those 34 through 37 could be heard with item 3.01, which is on the regular agenda. Those all relate to financial incentives for employee referrals related to the critical labor shortage. Therefore, possibly hear those together. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Church. I would like to call to everyone's attention. Staff has requested that consent agenda items 2.38, 2.39, and 2.40 be pulled at this point, pending additional information. So we're going to go ahead and pull those again to my colleagues. Agenda items, consent agenda items 2.38, 39, and 40. Will be pulled, and then we're looking for those items that were mentioned, pulled, I should say, from by Trustee Church. Ask those staff members to prepare to get into position for questions, and otherwise, I'm going to look for a motion, if it is the pleasure of the board, to approve consent agenda items 2.03 through 2.11, 2.16. through 2.21, 2.24 through 2.29, 2.31, and 2.32. Motion on the floor from Trustee Rodriguez, seconded from Trustee Smith. Any public comment on these?
No.
No, thank you. Thank you, JJ, with the cute new haircut. Okay, seeing no discussion. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Is there opposition? The motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. So we will go trustee Church. If I remember correctly, on 2.02, no staff is in place, but there's a comment you'd like to make?
Yes, I'm going to vote no on that. The only reason I say this virtually every meeting, and I messed up last time, under board reports, it just simply comments that we made board reports. I feel that it should be more specific and list on the minutes exactly a summary of what we did say. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Church, for that comment. I also want to draw to the public's attention. There have been posted by now, I believe so, JJ, questions that have been asked on most of the items, all but one, in fact, are from trustees on the consent agenda. And as those are updated, sometimes they come in a little bit after the deadline, and staff does all that they can, staff meaning JJ, to get them updated, get them to us, and then to get them posted. So first of all, JJ, thank you for your continual work in doing this, and we'd like to draw, if any of those items are of attention, any additional, there's additional information posted in board docs for anyone in the public who may be interested. Okay, so we'll go to consent agenda item 2.02. Thank you for your comments, trustee Church. Any public comment on this one?
No.
Okay, thank you, JJ. Looking for a motion to approve consent agenda item 2.02? Moved by trustee Bonetto. Is there a second? Second from trustee Mayberry. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? Aye. Let the record show the motion carries. It is 6-1. 6-1. We're going to go on now to consent agenda items 2.12, and we will open those concurrently with 2.13. Trustee Church, so staff, are there questions you have? Ask for your questions on this if you have some, sir.
I'll make some comments, and then if appropriate, staff can, if needed. This is the approval of appointments to individuals to different committees, and it's under consent. It was under consent, and basically they're recommending 2 individuals. I believe that it's more and first of all, I want to be clear, we're following policy. So I'm not alleging any violation of policy. This is how our policy works. I just disagree with the policy. I think that it's incumbent upon the trustees to make the final decision of all the applicants, all the qualified applicants, and instead, essentially, we're being force-fed 2 individuals. I don't know them. They're probably great people. I know that one of the individuals serves on another committee, so now they're being selected to serve on 2 separate committees, and therefore I'm inclined to vote no, because I just feel that this first of all, shouldn't be under consent, but second of all, I think it should be a board responsibility to look at the qualified applicants, maybe narrow it down, but they should have the opportunity to advocate for themselves, speak for their 3 minutes, and then we would make a decision. So just the whole way that it's done, I'm going to be voting no.
Thank you, trustee Church. We do have public comment on this, JJ. Thank you.
Pablo Nava Duran.
Welcome, Mr. Duran. Hang on, welcome. You out of practice. Get up here. Get the mic on, get you going. Okay, welcome, sir.
Hello. So I'm speaking on 2.13 about the appointment for Natalie Gazette. I'm a large member for Zoning Advisory Community. So I'll let you know that to support that. And Zoning Advisory Community have no contribution yet. So thank God. So hopefully the Zoning Advisory Community, hopefully, to get eliminate Pittsfield School in Northwest Winter about this fall.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
That's all for this item.
Thank you, JJ. Okay, I'll bring it back here to the board. Looking for a motion to approve, if this the pleasure of the board, agenda items 2.12 and 2.13. Moved by trustee Smith, seconded from trustee Rodriguez. Any discussion? No further? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? Aye. All right, the motion carries. Let the record show it is 6-1. Those are approved, and we'll go now to consent agenda item 2.14. Trustee Church, are there questions surrounding this, sir?
Yeah, I think this one will require staff.
We'll ask staff. We'll ask staff to come on. Welcome, Ms. Loudon. Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Church.
So this is a $500,000 budget item. I guess I don't want to say something and be wrong here. It's an agreement with a nonprofit for services. So I did read what I could on the staff report, and it looks rather vague. kind of like to know what we're doing with $500,000. It talked about collect and analyze data, and I know perhaps Mr. Eppolito will speak, but he had some concerns about the collection and who keeps the data, what happens to that data on students, and what they get. I mean, in other words, it's a nonprofit that's collecting our student data. And then I noticed the word field trips. I'm a big believer in field trips, so I think those are great. I'd just like to hear about them. And then a little bit of a question on the liability if something happens. Do they have insurance, this nonprofit? So those are basically my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Church. Ms. Loudon?
President Dr. Taylor and Superintendent Dr. Enfield and members of the Board of Trustees, for the record, I am Catherine Loudon. And as you may, the trustees who were here last year may remember that the Community in Schools is a national model program. It's present in over 26 states, including the District of Columbia, and has a robust presence in the state of Nevada, including in our southern Clark County and in several of our rurals. This is a matching fund, so Washoe County School District pays a portion, as you see in the board report, for that community-based collaborative model of providing on-site integrated support for our students. It is present, we are proposing in 13 school sites. We've added Matthews Elementary School. And then last year, because CIS and Tesla had funded Sparks High School, we also added Sparks High School. The Communities in Schools model provides a minimum of one staff member who helps to support a variety of different services on campuses, which include providing sometimes clothes, food, school supplies, support for academic and computer skills, referrals for academic help, for child care, for sometimes mental help, and community collaboration. The Communities in Schools is connected to many partners across the state of Nevada, so they have access to some services that we can receive. And they really provide that family engagement component as well and work collaboratively with staff members to do that. Before we ever bring these materials and contracts to you as a Board of Trustees, we follow the Board of Trustees approved ICA or independent contractor agreements, which include provisions for accounting for things like insurance and addressing data sharing and addressing things like FERPA and fingerprinting. So we follow the independent contractor requirements. We also, when we produce for you a memorandum of understanding for our superintendent to analyze and approve, we work collaboratively with our legal department and submit all forms, including a consent form. And you may remember, Trustee Nicolette and Trustee Smith, that last year you asked about the consent form, and that's the reason why I attached the consent form, because we have a consent form, and I remember sitting here feeling disappointed in myself in front of my boss that I did not bring that. So the consent form enables Communities in Schools National to put together aggregate data that they can look at and analyze and try to track their success for their model program and for their other providers. And so we're hoping, because so many principals, students, staff members, and families are looking forward to Communities in Schools opening alongside our schools this coming mid-August, that you will approve this contract.
Thank you, Ms. Loudon. Trustee Church, she addressed the questions that you had. I do see we have public comment as well. I want to make sure we
Wonderfully, yes. And the only the field trips, is that just kind of a maybe, or is that something we routinely do?
So not all, I'm sorry, for the record, my name is Catherine Loudon, I'm coordinator of counseling. Not all of our Communities in Schools provide field trips, but in collaboration with the school, sometimes there are a lot of things going on, and the Communities in Schools staff member becomes someone who can become an active integrated member and participates in a lot of the activities that are going on at school, including things that might be there. Also, sometimes there are special opportunities or opportunities to access basic needs that we want to make sure that we connect students with.
And again, so this is roughly $497,000 that we supply, then it's matched by the state or the federal government?
Yeah, Trustee Church, for the record, this is Catherine Loudon. Yes, so actually it's matched by Communities in Schools, who is a nonprofit.
Okay.
So businesses and other providers help provide the funds that are matched with our general fund to have this service on campus.
Okay. And then if I might, public comment might sponsor or give me another idea for a question, but other than that, I'm done, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Public comment was next, so please just go ahead.
John Eppolito.
Welcome, Mr. Eppolito.
Thank you. My name is John Eppolito. I'm a former K-12 teacher. I have 2 kids left in the district. Welcome, Superintendent Enfield. Anyone watching this meeting right now can go to our Facebook page at Protect Nevada Children and find direct links to last year's CIS meeting when Paul LaMarca told us Communities in Schools has access to, quote, everything in Infinite Campus, end quote, for the students they serve. This district has never answered the question, who else has access to everything in Infinite Campus? At that same link on our Facebook page, you can also see Trustee Nicolette ask Paul if parents provided permission for CSI to access their children's entire IC database. Paul didn't know. Then it gets worse. Paul also said, and then President Taylor repeated right before the vote, that CIS does not store data on students. But this year, on the parental consent form, we find out that, quote, all information pertaining to my child will be kept by CIS in a secured database and or case files, end quote. Misinformation right before you guys voted. I don't know if that would have changed your vote or not. Wouldn't have changed mine. I'd have voted against it anyway. Not because the program isn't good, but because of the data that's stored forever on the kids, which is the other problem with the consent form. It never says they delete any student data. There's another couple problems with it. I might not have time, though. The bottom line, the district is playing footloose and fancy-free with our students' most personal data, and therefore their futures. This is a huge problem, and that's why I keep coming to these meetings. So, yeah, we did that. Fast forward to this year, the board could take a stand here and today and say no to the data being shared with an unlimited number of entities. We don't know how many entities get access to Infinite Campus. We know several that do. We don't know who gets unlimited access to Infinite Campus. The district never answered that. Yeah, and I don't know what the pictures and videos are all about, but somebody had a concern with the pictures and videos that CIS gathers and audio. I don't know what they do with that. No one really knows how just the existence of these databases in perpetuity will affect the future of our children. Infinite Campus, SANE, and all the other official entities the district has allowed access to Infinite Campus. How is that going to affect the future of the kids? You guys have no idea. I don't know. Nobody really knows. But you're still free and loose with our kids' data.
Thank you, Mr. Eppolito. Please go right ahead. No, we have more public comment.
Shannon Coley.
You're good, Ms. Coley? Okay, thank you.
Pablo Nava Duran.
Welcome back, Mr. Duran.
Hello. So I wanted to say the CIS, the community in school, did the wonderful job for private family or student in need who cannot afford a basic school supply to learn the academic program, because this is very important and very essential to us. And I do know that it's a I do note the CIS. I'm not sure if the CIS is a stored data or not, but I'm definitely supportive of this program, the tenure days program, because I think like we should maybe add for Smithsonian Elementary School to a CIS community in the school program. That's my thoughts. So I definitely go support a program and wait for route shared data concern. So here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
That's all I have for this item.
Okay, thank you, JJ. I'm going to go to you, Mr. Lamarca, but I do want to point out in here, and I want to make sure I have the right understanding as well, just in terms of the data and the access that our partners, the community and schools has, and them storing the data and how long do they keep it, if you would. I know we've talked around this before, but if you can just share that again for the record, that'd be great.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Lamarca, Chief Strategies Officer. So, as noted, Community and Schools has access to infinite campus information on the students they serve. They do, and this is something that I was not aware of last year, so I own that error, and Mr. Ippolito pointed it out. They are storing data securely. That's part of the agreement that Ms. Loudon kind of outlined in the intro. In the database that they store, they include student demographic characteristics, what we would call directory information that's available in Infinite Campus, as well as case notes. So they have a case manager that supports students. They take notes when they see students. They store that in this particular database. They have their own retention policy. They adhere to it. They adhere to FERPA, the Family Education Reporting Privacy Act. We have not had any breach that we're aware of with Community and Schools. They've been a great partner. That's what I know about that.
Thank you, Mr. Lamarca. The only other question on that is, do we have any idea how long they keep the data?
No, they have their own retention policy. We requested that policy. We haven't been provided that policy at this point in time. It is not into perpetuity, like was stated, but we will share that with the board when it becomes available.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamarca. Other questions, comments from the board? Trustee Church?
Yes, specifically, and I want to be, first of all, this is on this agenda item. We're not, Infinite Campus is not on the agenda. We're talking about this agreement, so I'm inclined to vote yes on it. But you nailed it on that last thing. If we vote yes, am I correct that you can still engage with CIS and say, look, as soon as that kid's done, you need to delete this, or whatever's appropriate? Am I correct that you can still do that?
Yes, they would be expected to adhere to their retention policy. If our legal team felt that the retention policy was not restrictive, we would open up a conversation with CIS about modifying that. But we would expect for them to adhere to their own policies.
So I'm in my brain, I'm saying, number one, do we need to postpone this? And my other brain part says, no, we really don't. That's more of an administrative issue you're telling us that you'll deal with.
Yes, please, on the record, if you would.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lamarca. Thank you, Trustee Church. Other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, then we're looking, I'm sorry, Trustee Rodriguez?
Okay, I just want to, for number 7 on this MOU, or MOA, says that there's termination. So this agreement may be terminated by either party, correct? 30 days. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to on their end, we have an out. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the record, Paul Lamarca, yes, we do have a termination clause within the memorandum of understanding.
Okay, thank you.
So that's a good question. So if there's anything we're uncomfortable with in terms of from a data or whatever standpoint, certainly that's it. Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Mayberry?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I wasn't aware of communities and schools when I first started the board. And once I became familiar, I reached out to Nicole Willis-Grimes. She's the executive director. We sat down. She gave me some pretty remarkable case studies on how they've kept kids in school and have really tendered a lot of care, particularly our schools, and a lot of schools in my particular district that are at-risk schools. And so I would encourage any trustee to reach out locally to community and schools, and perhaps they'll happy to give you a tour, talk to them, learn about what they're doing. So I'm happy to make a motion to support this item.
Sure, go right ahead, Trustee Mayberry.
Move to approve item 2.14.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve consent agenda item 2.14. Seconded by Trustee Rodriguez. Further discussion? Seeing none, I can just say that I absolutely concur with the work that they do and that they've done. And I think we're blessed to have them as partners. They make a difference for some vulnerable students and families in our district. So, okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? The motion carries. Let the record show it is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work, and we know that you're paying attention to those items of concern. Okay, we're going to drop down now to a consent agenda item 2.15. Trustee Church, we have staff on consent agenda item 2.15.
Yes, I would need staff.
This is on. They're getting into position.
And 2.15 is for just shy of $800,000, so over $750,000. So anything this big, I like to, in a public forum, I think we kind of need to know about. And there's no attachment to that one. That one had no support material. And I want to thank staff because I sent this out last night, and on my desk today I have a quite long response. I haven't had time to digest it, but thank you. That's incredible that you do that so quickly. But if you can just kind of give us the who, what, when, why, how of how our $800,000 will be spent.
Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Enfield, President Taylor, and board members. For the record, I'm Lauren Olin, Director of Grants. This is a competitive grant through Nevada Department of Ed using American Rescue Plan dollars. And we selected 2 areas to apply for this grant. This is career and college ready, so this is focused on our older students being ready to graduate and being career and college ready. The first part of the grant is for AP test fees, and we have about $500,000 in there. Each test costs about $50, and we will be paying for approximately 5,000 tests each year. This is a 2-year grant, so it would cover school year 23 and 24. There's also about $42,000 and some change in there for teachers at the high school level to do some tutoring before the children take their AP tests in the spring. So that's the first part of the grant. The second part of the grant support.
Let me stop you on that if I might.
Please, go ahead.
So $500,000, that's what got me. How much are these tests?
Yeah.
So if they're only $50, where's the $500,000 is mostly going to basically for the tutoring?
No, the tests are $5,000. $50 times 5,000 is a year. So we're paying for 10,000 tests at $50 each for 2 years. So we're reaching about 5,000 of our most socioeconomic low students in the district that take AP. And some of these children also take more than one AP test, so they might be able to afford one, but if they're taking 2 or 3 AP classes, that becomes a big expense for them. So our curriculum and instruction department works with the high school counselors and the high school AP teachers to figure out which students need the help with the fee assistance. So only $42,000 $42,777 to be exact, is being used for tutoring students, which comes out to about 700 hours for the 2-year period.
If I might.
That answer, please go ahead.
What happens if we don't use up all the money?
We have to return it to Nevada Department of Ed.
Like grant money, right? You use it for what you're supposed to use it for, and like any other
Right.
grant. So,
And this funding, like all ARP funding, All American Rescue Plan, ends September 30th, 2024. So the second part of the grant is for us to hire through our CTE department, Career and Technical Education, a workforce development coordinator. So many of our students, when they progress through CTE training, they need to start gaining work experience with businesses so that they're prepared to either go forward to community college or college, or even just start a job when they get out of school. Right now, we do not have a coordinator in our district to manage this, so part of this job would be if we're awarded the funds. This is a competitive grant. We do not know yet if we'll be awarded these funds yet. But this person would go out and work with our businesses to help develop internships, job shadowing, and other work experiences for the students, and then coordinate that with the students and their CTE teachers. So that cost is about $229,000, and that's for 2 years. So that's paying for one person to serve as the coordinator for 2 years.
Okay, other questions, Trustee Church? No. And for members of the public, that information is provided in the questions that we talked about being posted on board docs. So those are a lot of numbers and a lot of details, with all of it's right there in front of you as well. And thank you, Lauren, for you guys turning it so fast to get this information in front of us. So, any other questions, comments on this? Trustee Church, were your questions answered?
Yes, and Mr. Ernst, if next time, if you could not interrupt so much, but you, no, thank you very much. And just, it's so impressive that we got this so quickly. Thank you.
And I don't know what's impressive is that she can go down almost to the penny. No, that is approximately something in 70 cents. That's someone who's on top of her game. So we appreciate your work. I have to just take a moment and brag on that grants department. They do such an amazing job. Just such an amazing job, and helps to provide just extra support for our students, sometimes for our teachers, for our families. So kudos. Okay, so now that answered the questions on the consent agenda item 2.15. Looking for a motion. Wait, any public comment on this one? No? Okay, great.
So
motion.
moved.
Okay, what? I got a finger, but let's get her name in. Let's get her name in the minutes. No, a move by Dr. Nicolette, we'll take the second from Trustee Rodriguez. Further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? The motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. Thank you both so much. All right, on to consent agenda item 2.22. Closed circuit televisions, and there are a couple of questions that were asked from trustees on this. Ask staff to please come forward. That information, again, is in those attached questions. You have questions with the Trustee Church and then Trustee Mayberry. Mr. Mayberry, why don't we go with you first, sir? Questions, yeah.
Sure.
Just so we can let him get some water or something over here from Trustee Church, and we'll come back to him then.
No, thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon. The question I had was touring Reed High School earlier this year. I know the principal was concerned about some of his security cameras. And again, my memory might be a little sketchy, but I recall him saying that some of them weren't working. A lot of them needed to be replaced or repaired. But I noticed in this particular item, Reed High School isn't on the agenda for these new cameras. I guess my first question is, are these security cameras? Am I talking apples to apples? And if so, when would the Reed High School security cameras be addressed?
Sure. So for the record, my name is Adam Searcy. I'm the Chief Facilities Officer for the school district. This is a pretty standard, what we call capital renewal capital project. So as we often talk, we have an asset database of our known facility assets, and the prioritization of these investments is informed by the condition inspections as well as information reported from the sites, work orders, et cetera, and then the resources invested are prioritized district-wide on the basis of need. So specifically, this item refers to the scope. I don't know that it was detailed. The 6 sites in question, for the record, were Galena, Sparks, AACT, North Valleys High School, Spanish Springs High School, Damani Ranch High School. These are existing closed-circuit TV cameras that are scheduled for replacement. Either they're beyond their useful life or are no longer repairable, et cetera. Those were identified in the same manner on the basis of need across the district. As far as Reed High School, currently they're not anticipated until fiscal year 24, using that same prioritization process. That can change from year to year as sometimes the systems change, but again, it's prioritized to the best of our ability based on knowledge of our own staff and feedback from the site, sort of on a worst first type of basis.
Okay. So I guess my follow-up would be, just given the unfortunate environment we live in today with what we've seen across the nation with school violence and that, it would be my hope that we could consider fast tracking some of the repairs, some of the replacements of these security cameras, particularly at our high schools, if that's possible. That would be my recommendation, sir.
No, I appreciate that. I think it's also worth noting we're consistently repairing with in-house resources and oftentimes vendor quotes on a case-by-case basis that do not exceed $100,000, do not necessarily come before the Board of Trustees. So we are able to make repairs and investments of that nature, but this larger scope going out through our capital program warrants presentation to the board.
Okay, and maybe you aren't aware of the Reed High. If I could just ask the superintendent if you'd consider reaching out to the principal at Reed High and at least letting him know that we're listening, that this is on our radar, and maybe get a better inventory of what needs to be repaired or replaced.
Absolutely.
No, appreciate that. I appreciate your adding in about repair, because that's what I was going to say. Even though the replacement may not be in order, because I know it's from a timing standpoint, that the repairs can, often, and that's part of what I think I heard, that some of them just need to be repaired, and so on. And so you're continuing looking at that. I think the repair piece is really important as well. So thank you for that. Trustee Church, you have questions?
Yes. This raises so many questions. For the record, I'm retired Reno PD, been trained in active shooter as well as other school security issues. And while there's certain public laws about public information, I really hate to discuss this in a public forum because, again, we don't want bad people to know what we do and don't monitor, how we monitor it, monitoring actively versus just looking at the video after the fact, et cetera, et cetera. I think, as again Trustee Mayberry mentioned, my question might be more for the superintendent. And again, I sprung this on you folks last night, and I apologize. Perhaps we could get a report, not in the formal board meeting, but just a written report on explaining what the cameras do and don't do and what they can do and who monitors them. Would that be more appropriate than in this form?
Really, I think it comes down to this is not an agenda item to talk about what's going to be. I know I'm getting that side eye over here. So it isn't on the agenda for us to make decisions about, and that will be a decision about what's going to be on the agenda. So you can certainly throw it in that way, or if there's an interest in sharing that information with the trustees across the board, that can come up in superintendent's highlights. And we can start in that manner. And then if there's more, why don't we do that? Why don't we start with having that information, so we don't have it here, share it with us in superintendent's highlights. And then after reviewing it, if any trustee wants to look into it more, then the request for an agenda item can come forward and we can deal with it that way.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Madam President. If I'm prepared to vote yes, because this is a rather small specific item, and then perhaps the superintendent in some form can share with the trustees more definitive information, but that's not a motion. That's just my request personally on what the cameras do and don't do. So, yeah, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Church. Do we have any public comment on this? No public comment? Okay, then if it is the pleasure of the board, looking for a motion to approve consent agenda item 2.22. Move from Trustee Rodriguez. Is there a second? Second from Trustee Mayberry. Seeing no further discussion. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? All right, the motion is carried. Let the record show it is unanimous. And thank you. And I won't congratulate you yet because you're the incoming Chief Operating Officer, but the outgoing is still in our midst. So, not new, not old, Pete. Not old. Not old. Okay, we're on to a consent agenda item 2.30. This is a consulting services on the district-wide the facility modernization. I know we've had an opportunity to talk about this a little bit at a couple of board meetings, so thank you for staying here. Trustee Church, you want to share your question, sir?
Yes, this is almost $2 million. So if staff could just basically tell us the the who, what, why, when. I did read the contract. I found it a little vague, so if you could just kind of clarify what we get for our $2 million.
Sure. So again, for the record, Adam Searcy, very briefly, in addition to the information that's in the staff report and the full consultant agreement, we have talked about this at a few different meetings. Basically, the consultant will be gathering data and reviewing existing data from the school district related to our existing school facilities. They will be hosting a variety of community forums and staff working groups to assess the district's sort of preferences, goals, and objectives, and then evaluating facility solutions targeted towards increasing the level of equity or parity across all school district facilities. So if you take some of our most modern schools and some of our oldest schools, you'll find that there are spaces and assets within those facilities that really are not equal or don't provide for the same opportunities. And this study is intended to work with a whole host of community members and groups to assimilate the data, both quantitative and qualitatively, and develop a report for the consideration of the board ultimately to likely inform future capital projects to help enhance the existing schools across the district. That's basically the scope. That schedule's intended to play out really throughout the remainder of this calendar year and into the first quarter of 2023 in hopes that it will then roll into next fiscal year's program development.
Please.
Thank you. So how often would we expect to see this done, this kind of study?
This study is anticipated to span a 10-year horizon. That doesn't mean that it couldn't be revisited up to annually, but they're scoped to forecast a 10-year horizon program.
If I may clarify just on that, that doesn't mean we're going to do the study every year for 10 years. It means it's looking at a 10-year snapshot, I guess, if you will, for this. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
In a perfect world, the future is somewhat unknown, but this makes a projection or recommendation of projects for 10 years to come. Annually, we'll reevaluate those if we stay generally on track, but certain circumstances may cause some minor adjustments. And then, in 7 years, if we feel that it's due for a refresh, or, if 10 years we're still plugging away at the list of projects, we'll see how that plays out.
Thank you. If I may, Mr. Searcy, and I know we spoke about schools, which is obviously our first concern, is that, and I love to look at making sure those who go to the older schools don't feel left behind because they don't have the same opportunities, as those that are at some of the beautiful new schools that we have. Is there any indication at all that part of the study will be our office space, or administratively we pay at least, I forgot how much, Pete, I know you've told me this at some point, a lot all over the community because we're really, really spread out and so on. And I think we can all agree that an upgrade would be nice, not just nice, but really necessary. Is that a part of this at all?
To be clear, it is not. This scope is specifically focused on existing schools. There may be opportunities identified through this study that we could then pursue as it relates to the central services office functions, but really, in addition to what you just said as far as prioritizing and focusing on the schools, I think that the solution or solutions related to central service facility needs are something that either are best served through internal in-house analysis or a separate scope or evaluation. I fully acknowledge it's an area of interest, but this agreement is specifically pertaining to existing school facilities only.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to push back a little bit. It's not an area of interest. It's an area of need. I will say that. I think it's an area of need. I'm not saying it should be a part of this. It isn't. That's an answer to my question, but I just wanted to say it's not. I'm not interested in it. I think we need it. I think we need it.
I don't disagree with you. Sorry, I just clarifying the scope of this item.
Oh no, that's okay. It's all right. I just wanted to make sure that my thoughts were yeah. Oh yeah, certainly stay on the agenda, but that's the agenda. All right. Other questions, comments on this? Thank you, Mr. Searcy. We're looking for a motion if it is. Oh, public comment on this? None. Okay. Looking for a motion, if it's the pleasure of the board, to approve consent agenda item 2.32. I see the hand nod and the fingers up from Trustee Smith. Is there a second? Okay, moved by Trustee Smith, seconded by, we'll go with Dr. Nicolette. Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? The motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Searcy. All right, consent agenda item 2.33. 2.33. And before we begin, and just as we start, I'd be remiss, Pete, if I didn't acknowledge this is your last board meeting. We are going to miss so much all of your guidance and your wisdom and your leadership. I mean, we got a chance to kind of celebrate all together with all of you retiring, but the number of times you sat in that chair for sometimes hours and answered just all kinds of questions from the board as well as from the community. We are a better district. We are a better district because you've been here, so thank you so much.
Pete Etch, our Chief Operating Officer. Well, it's been the pleasure of a lifetime to have spent this last decade here with the Washoe County School District, so thank you all very much for that.
Okay, we appreciate it. Please, let's go ahead. You have questions, Trustee Churchill, this is your item to pull?
Sure, it's a hard act to follow, so yes, best wishes. My question when I read this, and it kind of relates to 3.1, I believe it is, that we're going to talk about later. It's a recruiter position for nutrition services. Can you explain to me the thought process why we would have a specific recruiter for nutrition services? I mean, why not one for police department, as opposed to just a recruiter for HR for all of our openings? That was my big question when I read that.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Church. Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer, for the record. That is a good question, and I would like to take this opportunity to remind the trustees and everyone that our recruiting team is currently 4 individuals, a small but mighty recruiting team that fills hundreds of openings every year. And right now, much of our effort is spent on the big 4 that we often talk about here. And so we have a recruiter dedicated to transportation outreach, one dedicated to special education aids and assistance, and then housekeeping, nutrition services, and others are covered by the remaining recruiters. So the goal in creating this position specific to nutrition services is, again, to have really targeted efforts, because the ideal candidates for each of these roles are somewhat different. And because the Nutrition Service Fund allows for it, we felt like this would be a really great opportunity to capitalize on the pay increases that were just implemented, and then utilize a one-year-only position to go to PTA meetings and to booster events and to go to restaurants and solicit folks who are currently in food service. So this is very much a field-based position supported by the Enterprise Fund for nutrition services.
If I may jump in, I think that's what's key for me as I read the staff report, is that nutrition services pays for this. Excuse me. It is not the general fund. It isn't from your regular HR budget, but it can be specific to that area because they can pay for that, because those are separate funds than our general fund. That might be helpful. Go ahead, Trustee Church.
It is, and I will confess in public that I missed that when I read the report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment on this, JJ?
Pablo Nava Duran.
It's basically treaty stuff. So here we go. So I know you guys do pay raise a lot. That means very helpful for workers who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I do know that inflation doesn't help this worker to have a worker minimum wage. So I do support of a 1 year's only nutrition service for that, and then for the substitute.
Yeah, I think you want to speak on the next agenda. This is just for the recruiting position.
Okay.
That's what this agenda item was for.
Okay.
I think you want to talk about the bonuses, the incentives, and so on. I think that's an upcoming agenda item. So hang tight.
Okay.
Okay, hang tight. Thank you. All right.
That's all for this item.
Okay, thank you, JJ. Bring it back here to the dais. Any further discussion? If not, looking for a motion if it's the pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Okay, motion on the floor in the second. Motion from Dr. Nicolette, seconded from Trustee Mayberry. This is for consent agenda item 2.33. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? Okay, the motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, now there was a request. I am not inclined, but I certainly will follow the because I think they're different, they're related issues, but different issues. Consent agenda items 2.34, 0.35, 0.36, and 0.37. I got those right, Trustee Church? They're all about the memorandum of agreements with our negotiating units, WEA, WESP, and the Police Association, and WESPA. Together, Trustee Church was asking that we hold the vote on that until we get to the report in 3.01 that gives us an update on the labor shortages and so on. I said I am not inclined to do that, but if there's someone who'd like to, if he'd like to make that a motion, I think there are different issues.
No, I'm okay discussing it now. It's just whatever.
Okay, if we don't mind doing that, so we'll open all of those then. That was your request as well, correct? 2.34, 35, 36, and 37 together, and all of them, as I said, are about the memorandums of agreement with our negotiating unit. So, questions for that, Trustee Church? And I see our Chief HR is right here, ready.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Basically, if you can just start with a who, what, why, when, how of what this is about.
Of course. These agreements, those outlined in 2.34, 35, and 36, are intended to mirror the agreement that we have in place for ESP employees to refer other ESP employees. But this expands the opportunity so that our licensed administrators, our certified staff, and our school police officers can qualify for a referral bonus for referring into the eligible ESP positions. Same terms and conditions as the previous agreements that have been in place since the 21-22 school year. And we are very hopeful that expanding the opportunity to earn $2,000 per referral will be something that gets people's interest. The other thing I want to stress, a little commercial for referral bonuses, is that there's no cap on referral bonuses. So if you refer 5 bus drivers, you can make $10,000. So any other specific questions I can answer about that? And then I'll move on to 3.7.
Have we run the numbers on what it would probably cost, knowing that it's not for certain?
Trustee Smith? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this because this is all in the board report. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that the total estimated cost of referral bonuses is $235,000, and that these incentives will be paid from the elementary and secondary schools emergency relief funds, also known as ESSER. I have no problem addressing anything that's not in these board reports, but I just want to keep the business moving.
No, I appreciate that, Trustee Smith. I think that answer to that question is right there, Trustee Smith, under financial. That might answer that in terms of and it's a projection. We're hopeful, but it's a projection, so we like at least have some idea.
I guess my final thing is more of a comment. My personal opinion, I've beat this horse to death, so I'll be very brief because I've covered everything within 50 minutes, so I think we did good. I just don't think we can spend our way out of the problem. I think the answer to the recruiting critical labor shortage is much more in depth and much more complicated than spending it. And I'm really troubled. I'm really on the edge of voting yes or no because I just don't think we've addressed the bigger picture. And that's just my own opinion. And I'm pontificating and I beat the horse to death, but I'll put it on the record again.
Thank you, Trustee Church. Do we have any public comment? Yes, we do. We'll go ahead and take this, JJ, and then we'll bring these 4 consent items back here to the board.
Pablo Nava Duran.
This is the one, Pablo. Thank you, sir.
Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. So we know that throughout the teacher shortage, it's not such a Washington County School District. It's such a national issue what's going on. And I do support this for the bonus higher retain teacher, and if we lose it like a more teacher, then we had to get like a more available job. So I'm a new hire for substitute teacher at Hook High School.
All right.
Here we go.
Thank you. All right.
Here we go. So So it's so weird to me that in absent of medicine management, when I check out when I hire in June, when I check, there's a lot of substitute job over here, but and right now it's like 8 available. But I think it take time for 1 week from now, because school has not started until 3 weeks. So school started in 3 weeks. So get repair for the teacher. If a school like they need like more teacher or a New Hook High School need like a substitute teacher.
Stay on the agenda. Stay on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. It's about referrals, and it's about increased pay for one of the one of the bargaining units.
Increase of pay and an incentive.
Okay, we appreciate that.
So for the certified teacher, yes. I'm not sure for substitute teacher. Not sure.
But no, that's not on this agenda at this time.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Duran.
That's all for these items.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Smith.
Thank you. Now, I definitely agree that this should be a full court press, but if we vote yes today, this does not preclude us from other tactics, right?
Absolutely not. And I think you'll hear in item 3.01 that we are engaged in all forms of outreach that can be engaged in at this point.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none. If it's the pleasure of the board, looking for approval for consent agenda items 2.34, 35, 36, and 37. So moved by Trustee Rodriguez. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Minetto. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? All right, the motion carries. Let the record show it is unanimous. Thank you very much for your work on all of those. Okay. All right. Oh, that's you again as we go over. All right. We got through the consent agenda. All right. All right. Yes. 3839? No, we pulled those, didn't we? Oh, just for discussion. Oh, I thought we pulled them. Okay. All right. Consent agenda. My apologies. Consent agenda 2.38 and 2.39. We're doing those together, I think. And 40. Okay. Yes, misread my notes. Sorry, JJ. Right there, highlighted and everything. All right. So consent agenda items 2.38, 39, and 40. Yes, sir.
I thought we pulled them.
They pulled them to be considered together. I misread the note.
Okay.
Okay. So I can unpull them.
Okay, I was just concerned if somebody was here and they left the room, but okay.
2.38, 39, and 40.
All right. Thank you, President Taylor and members of the board. Really, I just wanted to pull these briefly to highlight them because I think that this is important for our employees. I was here at the last board meeting to share with you a similar agreement that we had reached with the Washoe Education Association. So for our teachers, these agreements represent our support professionals, our principals, and our school police officers. And really, this is what we hope a signal to our employees that we understand the last couple of years have been really challenging, and when we were able to identify vacancy savings and unspent grant funding where we were able to do something like this, we wanted to do that. So we know that one-time monies are not ideal, right? Folks would prefer base compensation, but we hope that, again, this signals to employees that this is just one step in our advocacy for them and their compensation, and that it helps to relieve a little bit of the economic pressure that they're feeling right now. So just wanted to add those comments and highlight the importance of these three items.
No, I appreciate that, and how I wanted to be clear is that I did read it, thank God I read it as it was written, pulled for additional information, and so this is the additional information. So questions, comments, I mean, these are all three, these are open, these are the MOAs, right? Yeah. The amendments of memorandum, that's it, other way around. The amendment of a memorandum of agreement, so MOAs for our bargaining units, so we have an opportunity to just say thank you and to acknowledge their commitment and their work and the environment that we're in, making a note of the fact that there's still doesn't cover everything, doesn't close all the holes or the gaps, but it shows that we see and we're trying to do some things about it. So, Trustee Smith?
Thank you so much, President Taylor. I just want all of our staff who are listening to know that there should be no thanks to us for this. This is what they have earned. Our thanks 100% go out to them. These are not gifts. These are not anything. This is small compared to the enormity of the work that they've done over the past few years. And I just want to make sure to state that for the record so that everyone is very clear about the way that we feel about these employee groups and how much we appreciate them.
Very well said, Trustee Smith. Do we have any public comment on this, JJ? None on this? Okay.
I did have one question.
Please go ahead, Trustee Church.
Can you discuss the financial that I assume Mr. Mathers has reviewed it, we have the funding, and is this going to affect our, I forget the word, I think we had a 12% reserve. Are we dipping into the reserves for this?
The ending fund balance, no, I think we've actually, when we had our, one is we're in, Mr. Mathers is not here to answer that question, but I do know that when we were discussing this, because it's something that we can discuss as an agreement, is that we spoke about the importance of doing this even in the midst of that, so that it comes from ESSER funds. They are one-time funds for this year, and some of it came from savings, some of it came from the general fund, but not from the ending fund balance. Other questions, comments? All right. Otherwise, looking for a motion to approve consent agenda items. We have the additional information, so thank you. 2.38, 39, and 40. Trustee Mayberry?
Yeah, I'll move to approve 2.38, 39, and 30.
40.
40. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion from Trustee Mayberry, seconded from Clerk Minetto. No further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Opposition? All right, the motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. It is unanimous. All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll go on to agenda item 3.01, presentation to update the board. This is for information and discussion only, by the way, to update the board. On the Board of Trustees on critical labor shortages in the areas of transportation, custodial nutrition services, special education aids and assistance. Those are the top four, as Ms. Ellison referred to, as well as other possible areas, including information on employee recruitment and the operational planning efforts for the start of the 22-23 school year. And before us is Ms. Ellison and Mr. Searcy.
I'll get us started today. Thank you, President Taylor and Board of Trustees. Emily Ellison for the record, Chief Human Resources Officer. Mr. Searcy and I are going to provide an update today, largely focused on transportation, but we have the big four that we often talk about. And from a recruitment perspective, I can confidently say that pay increases are bolstering our extensive recruiting efforts. So this is just the time period since just before the pay increase was approved right at the end of the year. And you can see the number of applicants and new hires that we've had in each of these areas. Scott had a fun fact for me while we were sitting here. During this same time period last year in transportation, we had 13 new hires compared to 22. So kudos to my team who are engaged in extensive media. Thank you, communications team, for help with all of those buys, TV, radio, social media. We are at events every day, so whether it's Art Town or any of the number of other events that are happening in our community right now, I'm sure you'll see our booth. Our folks are joining social media groups to engage individuals in conversations and ask for referrals. We've got the referral incentives that we just talked about, forming and strengthening, of course, our relationships with community organizations and schools in this area, driving schools, that sort of thing. We have engaged one of our staff members who basically is a telemarketer at this point and who calls every human that has a phone number that she can find. We're leveraging back to school communication and asking our principals if they can to send out some verbiage in their back to school announcements related to the openings that they might have on their campus. And then we're doing things like geofencing with social media. So if you're not familiar with that, the best example I can provide is when the RTC drivers were striking, we could say, put up a little geofence on social media around where that was happening, and then it prompts content related to our posts and our job ads to be pushed to the devices in that area. So we're really trying to think about who the people are that fill each of these very niche positions, and who this type of work could speak to, and target them in really specific ways. So I think, I want to celebrate the successes as much as I want to highlight the challenges, because while our team is producing amazing results, the reality is that unemployment is still 2.9% in this area. That means that there are just under 6,000 people that are available for work. And when you consider the number of openings that we have, I need 7.75% of those people to come work here. And that assumes that they are all background check eligible and interested in working with children and all of that. So it's not that simple, unfortunately. Adam is going to cover in more detail, but this is still a pressing community issue. We need the support of our community to help us find and attract candidates to our positions. So we need existing staff to refer their family and friends. We need community members to encourage their family and friends to think about a career with the district. We need parents to encourage their young adult children to get into PERS now so that they can retire when they're 50 and be a lot smarter than I was in my 20s. And then, we really, as a reminder, need everybody to be talking about the incredible things that are happening in our district, so that we build that momentum and people want to become a part of something that is so incredible. So, again, just kind of a plea. If you know someone who knows someone, talk about why you like working here. Talk about what you love about coming to work every day. Of course, there are opportunities for improvement, but our kids need us, and they need our employees. So I will turn it over to Adam.
Thanks, Emily. Riding that note of positivity, not reflected so much on this slide is our retention numbers, which have also improved as these pay changes have gone into effect. We're seeing that reflected across our existing staff. So one slide only on the housekeeping and nutrition services legs of our Big Four. These level of service adjustments to specifically the housekeeping organization have gone into effect. So the redistribution of our existing custodians, the retraining on the reduced frequency related specifically, as we've discussed before, to daily vacuuming has begun. And so you will see that as we begin the school year at middle and high schools, reducing the frequency of vacuuming to once per week, and maintaining the level of service at or near pre-COVID levels or pre-level of service reductions at elementary. So that's really the highlight on the housekeeping side. The nutrition services side, as you saw before, and we talked earlier about the recruiter position, is seeing positive trends as well. They're maintaining their levels of service as similar to last school year, but will continue to struggle with staffing vacancies as they work on those recruitment efforts. This year also will be pushing for the free and reduced lunch applications to be required or encouraged across all of our school community, really the highlights going into this school year on those two areas. But most of our time we want to spend giving an update to the board and the public on where we're at with regards to our transportation staffing and service levels. So we've talked about this many meetings now, and really we're at a point where we need to be very candid about our start of school year level of service options. So basically in the transportation department now we have 260 driver allocations. Not all of those are filled. Following with this slide, approximately 230 daily drivers are needed to operate the daily hub system, which is our baseline level of service. However, the current area rotation plan, we need approximately 190 drivers to operate that program. At this moment, changes every day, approximately 220 of our driver allocations are filled. However, approximately 20 of them are not fully trained and ready to drive a bus with students on it. We have about 20 new hirees who are in a training program or are about to begin a training program. So given the daily plus and minus of resignations, new hires, trainees that are unsuccessful through that program, and the expected completion of that training, those training classes, we're currently projecting between 190 and 200 daily drivers to be available for the start of school at this point, which, going back up to those first two bullet points, puts us in between the minimum needed to operate the daily area rotation plan and the minimum needed to operate the daily hub system. As we've talked before, the onboarding timeline for these positions is lengthy, averaging upwards of 4 to 6 weeks to get somebody road ready with students. So there is a significant investment that goes into those new hires before we can put them on the streets. That puts us in a position where we need to be clear with the public today that we will have to begin the 22-23 school year on the area rotation calendar. But for a variety of reasons, not the least of which what we've just been discussing, our recruitment and retention efforts and the positive progress that we've been making in recent weeks, we do anticipate being able to return the entire district to a hub system by fall break. Now, there's a couple more slides that I want to elaborate a little bit on what we anticipate happening between where we're at now and where we hope to be district-wide. So just a little bit on the transition. The second bullet first here, we've got a number of areas, Rancho Haven, Antelope Valley, who are already included in the daily transportation plan. So because of their remote status, they will be provided daily transportation. We have the resources to do that. Additional neighborhoods, that third bullet now, additional neighborhoods will return to daily transportation as drivers become available. So whether we're graduating from trainee programs or rehiring staff who have previously resigned that we're actively trying to bring back to us, the moment that we have a driver available for a route, we are going to be targeting the neighborhoods of greatest need using the data that you somewhat see depicted on that graphic. So the first bullet on this slide, the utilization of attendance and hardship data to prioritize return to transportation. We have over 3 months of data, very granular data from last semester, telling us which communities were most severely and acutely impacted by this area transportation plan. And similar to our facility investments, the areas of greatest need will receive our resources as prioritized on the basis of this data. So the students that show, or the areas that show up with the brightest colors in that map, just as a generalization, will be returned to service as soon as those resources become available. We think that's most equitable, but also allows us to be the most nimble. Every time we consolidate a route or hire a new driver or rehire someone or graduate someone from a training class, we will immediately provide targeted communication to that community and restore service as quickly as possible. So just to wrap it up here, we will have specific route information by the end of next week. That's basically going to tell the community members their bus stop locations, their school bus numbers, things like that. This area rotation plan will be familiar to everyone. It will remain the same as last school year, and we'll make it available after this board meeting on our website. And then that final point, our ability to provide advanced notification to the communities and return service on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis based off of that hardship data as soon as the resources become available is really the balance that we're trying to strike here. This is delivered with no lack of frustration from staff. All of the positive energy that Emily exuded is real and is exuded by the transportation staff and everybody in between, but we were very frustrated to have to deliver this punchline to the board and the public at this time. There's been mention of this being a regional and national issue. This is something that our community continues to struggle with. The data very much points to positive progress based on decisions that have been made, and our ability to be extremely nimble with our response and resource allocation. However, because of the runway or lack thereof at this time to the start of school. It's important that we have this conversation and tell the community where we're at as we approach the first day of school, looking at an area rotation plan as we come in the beginning weeks and months of the school year. So that's the information. Again, this is an information-only item, but we've got our Director of Transportation, Scott Lee, and several other friends in the audience if anyone would like to discuss. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, it's an info item, so we won't have public comment on it, but I think we do have some questions or comments from the board. Dr. Nicolette?
Thank you. And I will say right out of the chute that I trust that you're doing everything that you can, and so my question really is a little different, and it might be for Emily. And if I'm getting off track, I'm sure our counselor will let me know. But the title of the presentation on the PowerPoint is Washoe County School District Recruitment and Operations Planning Update, and marvelous job on the transportation. Then I also noticed that, you know, on the agenda item, it references and other possible areas. And I kind of hone in on the critical labor shortage term. And what I go to right away is teachers. And we haven't really discussed that, and I don't want to get off track, but it does say critical labor shortage. And what I want to know is do we consider teachers to have a critical labor shortage in this equation?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Nicolette. My name is Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer for the record. As it relates to this specific item, no. That's some hangover language from previous items that Pete and I have brought to you. So the focus really today was intended to provide an overview of what to expect from a transportation perspective. In general, do I consider teachers a critical labor shortage? Absolutely, and there's actually a statutory definition for teachers when it comes to critical labor shortage, because there's a provision that allows us to rehire teachers who are retired into contracted positions if we are in a critical labor shortage. So we bring those to you periodically. Those designations stay good for 2 years. We have to designate them by subject or grade, though. So we bring those to you as math, for example, or science, foreign language. I believe elementary school is designated. We've probably got 15 or so designations that I would say at this point for specific teacher roles.
Thank you. And I guess what I'm leaning toward is having a report at our next board meeting about our teacher situation.
Absolutely, Trustee Nicolette. In fact, Ms. Ellison and I were meeting on this today, and we have some ideas and a game plan that we'll be discussing with ELT, so we will definitely, for the next board meeting, have a good update for you. Is that fair, Emily? Keep me in check.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate that. And again, the deep dive that you have accomplished on these areas is stellar, and we may not like the information, but it's solid, and we move forward together on making good things happen, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Nicolette. Trustee Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. If you can kind of just explain a little bit more, I'm sure you guys have looked at all options, but have you guys looked at contract busing services, contract bus drivers, manpower, go-go charters? I mean, have you guys, and if you guys have, what are the barriers there?
Thank you. Scott Lee, Director of Transportation. Yes, we have looked at that. We haven't reached out recently to see what that sort of availability is, but we did extensive research back in January when we were initially having these problems. As far as bus drivers overall, it's an industry-wide problem. So it's not just school bus drivers, it's charter bus drivers as well. It's over-the-road truckers. Anyone who has a commercial driver's license, there's a demand for that position. With charters specifically, we only have one charter company. We reached out to 4 charter companies during last January. only one responded and followed through. They offered up to 5 initially charter buses to assist. Now those are limited. We had to staff them with chaperones because they don't have GPS, they don't have radios, there's no student attendance being taken, student management issues need to be controlled. Also, route information, they're not familiar with the routes, if their buses are going to fit, so we needed a transportation person on there directing them. So that ends up taking an additional staff member as well. But with the shortfall that we have, even if we were able to, let's say, get 5 charter buses, it's not going to solve the problem. They're also very, very expensive, and they have reduced capacity and no loading lights. So they're not going to save full bodies, they're going to save runs for high school and middle school students picking up and dropping off at hub stops or school to school. They can't service neighborhoods legally. As far as outsourcing to other drivers, staffing agencies, that's not, okay.
I'll take that one. Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer for the record. I actually had a career in staffing and recruiting before I came to the district, and my colleagues in staffing assure me and try to make me feel better that they are having the same problem that we are. My other concern with outsourcing this work would be just from a safety perspective. We spend a lot of time and energy vetting our employees, rightfully so, to ensure the safety of our students, and utilizing a third party, it gives me a little bit of pause, especially with direct student contact.
No, I definitely understand that.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I definitely understand that, and Stephanie, that is an obstacle. But, I mean, I know y'all, I'd like to think you guys know this, that this is going to disrupt a lot of people's daily jobs, childcare, things like that. I mean, this is a huge obstacle for our community. I'd be interested to see and reaching out, see if there's any contractors out there that'd be interested. I do understand the background stuff, but I mean, that's something that maybe the district can make a priority. And I understand this is not going to solve the problem, but if you're telling us that by fall this should be resolved, then let's look at solving this problem temporarily as you guys are briefing us. Another question I do have is the training hours. I guess we have 20 drivers in training right now.
We have 2 drivers in training right now. We have 20 scheduled for training. Starting Monday, we have 11. We may end up having more than that, but these are numbers from yesterday. I know we had 3 interviews today. I don't know how those went, and we have another one scheduled later this week. So we're probably going to be seeing scopes of 12 to a little bit greater than that.
And the limitation on why those drivers, is that a number of hours? Is that something we could look at providing overtime to speed this up, or is it a matter of, I mean, what?
With the permitting process, there is a 15-day minimum requirement that they hold that permit. They also have to go through federal I know you hate acronyms, I'm sorry. ELDT training. I can't tell you what that stands for because I forgot. But it's the new federal training that they have to, federally mandated training program that they have to go through. That's 2 weeks long. There's no way to shorten that. They have to complete each module before they can move on to the next stage. So that's going to take 2 weeks no matter what. As far as over the road, that's usually about 2 weeks as well. If they have experience driving a heavy vehicle, it can be shortened. Maybe we can get that to only 1 week. But we're still looking at somewhere between 3 and 5 weeks, depending on the level of the trainee.
And is that why you guys are forecasting for fall break, or should be back to a sense of normalcy?
That's it. That's our goal. But yes, we're expecting with each scope it's going to take about 4 weeks to train all of those drivers and get them on the road.
All right, I do want to thank you guys for, because a lot of this is my district, Rancho Haven, Antelope Valley. I do appreciate you guys looking at that and recognizing the obstacles. You can't just walk on a sidewalk to school there. So I do appreciate that. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. I have a couple questions as well as, and I'm going to start by saying this is a crazy challenge to have, and I know it's one that you have worked out for a minute. Mr. Lee, you and your team, Mr. Searcy, you and your team, and everyone that you've worked tirelessly to try to solve the problem. So don't think that for a minute, because I don't think anyone in the district feels great about kids not getting to go to school every day. But it's that last statement. Kids don't get to go to school every day. There are very few things in my tenure on the board that have kept me up, and this is one of them. We do kids, we do education. We can't do them if they aren't there. And so my question is, I know that there are barriers, there are challenges. I know there's expense. I know that it's difficult working conditions, and I know that to have outside drivers along with our drivers can certainly create some discomfort and some complications. But I know we had some charters in here for a while, and so I would like to know what can we get some back in. I mean, it's to me it's one of those things that we did some looking, and I know and life in January was just incredibly difficult. I don't know how you guys made it through. Quite frankly, everybody that looked like they had a CEO was driving, and I know that. But I think what I would like to ask is those same as they say now, the same energy that we put into it in January, we put that same energy into it now. And you know what we did? We called all the charters. We can get 5, let's get 5. We need someone on the bus, let's figure that out. And not because it isn't important. I know it's important. But because we haven't talked since January, we got to go back and do that again. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, that same energy in January we got to have again. I mean, going into a school year knowing that every kid can't go to school is unbearable for me. And we may still get there where every school kid doesn't get, but if we add 3 more buses, that's so many kids that now get to go. Or whatever the case may be, to me, this is just that important. I'm only talking as one trustee. I get that. This is not an action item. We aren't going to be voting on it and so on, but it's just that important. We have, and because it's the poor kids. It's the already vulnerable kids. It's already the disadvantaged kids that aren't going to get to go. And how you start a school year matters. Matters so much. Not every day matters, but how you start a school year, especially coming off of the summer like that, just matters. And so if it's that, yes, it's expensive to get some charters, yeah, I'm sure it is. But we did it because we had to. We did it. We got to figure it out. If we have to redo some things, we got to take some votes as a board and say, hey, this is how much it would cost for us to do. We're talking 7 weeks. If we can find a way to put a Band-Aid on this thing for 7 weeks to get to where the projection is that we'll be we should hopefully be at full service, then it's just that I am, again, this is one trustee. We don't get to take a vote or anything, but the thing we turned over every single dang rock in January. And I think we need to do, it's that same energy. So at least as trustees, as leaders in the district, at least we can look people in the face and say we did every single thing. But going back to what we did a few months ago, that's not going to be sufficient enough to that family member if they can't get their kid to school. Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you, Madam President. I really stole my thunder as the Trustee Rodriguez. So we've done the charter buses before for that sliver of time leading up to fall break. I mean, it's paramount as one trustee that represents half the county that if we can get the charters online, if that's a reliable, viable option for that sliver of time, it's really important for me that we look at that as well. You know, I've spent a lot of time, for obvious reasons, talking to a lot of moms and dads, and that's the priority for many of them is the bus challenge. And I know it's a national problem, but that doesn't make it so. I really strongly encourage us to do all we can to ensure that we get our kids to school. Thank you.
Trustee Church, and then back to Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you. And for my fellow trustees, no, I'm not going to bang my shoe on the table again and go into great detail because one of the things I'm so hopeful for is we have a brand new superintendent. This is her very first meeting, and I'm just so hopeful that we have a new set of eyes on. And that's no reflection on anybody else, but it's so wonderful to have just a new set of experienced eyes on the problem. So I'm hopeful from that regard. One of the things I heard, and I've said, and I taught recruiting nationwide, innovative ideas. So I can't think of all of the solutions, but yeah, we've got to come up with something innovative. And I actually was researching and reflecting back on the Montgomery bus boycott back in 1955. We all remember that, right? You know, back 1955. I was in diapers then. So the community came together and supplied cars and rides to people needing it. There's got to be something we can do. And I know we can't sponsor the soccer mom in her van doing that, but if we can help get that information out. I mean, I'm just open to anything innovative. And I will harp on two things, and I've had 2 long talks with the superintendent on this. So again, I'm not going to go on and on, but I do believe housing is a major part of the puzzle. I do believe if we can crack that housing nut in various ways, that includes research. And again, I'm asking for research into this, which doesn't necessarily mean we do something, but I believe housing is an essential part of the problem. I voted yes on the pay raises or referral incentives. I voted yes because I think that is a part of the puzzle, but I don't think that's the solution. So, pardon me. So once again, I just really hopeful that our superintendent will make this a priority, look at it, maybe have some innovative ideas. But if there was ever a particular subject of bus drivers where housing, I would say, can't we try it? If it fails, you go, hey, Trustee Church was wrong and but can't we try it? Can't we look at it? And so, again, I just so hopeful that our new superintendent will have some innovative ideas, and I appreciate the other trustees' time and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Church. Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. This might be a question for Emily. Hypothetically speaking, I love those. If we were to look at contract bus drivers, I do understand safety and security of our students is priority. How long would the background turnarounds take if we were to make that a priority?
I think it would be paramount that we still put them through our fingerprint process, because I know that many staffing agencies don't have access to the same level of screening that we do. And I would be guessing if I tell you how long that takes. It's pretty quick. I haven't heard any complaints about it in a long time, so that turnaround is pretty fast. I've also been doing some Googling while I was sitting here, and there are not any agencies in town that I can find so far that provide CDL drivers, so I'll keep looking. But many of them specialize in forklift drivers and warehouse workers and that sort of thing, but CDL is pretty specialized, so I'll keep looking.
Okay. Amador Stages, Go-Go Charters, Party Bus, Reno.
Oh, those are charter buses. I'm sorry. I was thinking about
probably not put kids on a party bus. I'm just gonna go on record saying we should probably. When I said that same energy, I didn't mean that energy for.
It would.
I'm sorry, Trustee Rodriguez. I meant I was speaking about the staffing companies. You're right. There are tons of charter bus companies. I can't find any staffing companies just yet that provide CDL drivers.
Fair enough. And then I imagine staff kind of gets to where the board is standing on this as far as beginning of school year. This might be a question more for the new superintendent. Hypothetically speaking, that we do have to go to this rotation, absentees, will digital learning, Zooms like that, with students that can't, parents are working 2-3 jobs, graveyard, kids that can't get to school safely, how are we going to accommodate them?
Yeah. So thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, please. Dr. Infield.
I'm still getting used to the new ways. I didn't allow for President Taylor to call on me before, so I apologize. And I apologize for all the mistakes I'm going to make in the days and weeks ahead being new to the district.
Along with all of us, right.
So, Trustee Rodriguez, thank you for that. This is really priority one, I think, for all of us. We know. I don't think it hurts my heart to look at the faces of Adam and especially Scott. I know that they're doing everything that they can, and I know you all know that. And I know it pains us all to think of the impact this is going to have on our families and students, especially those who rely on us most for transportation. So we have an ELT meeting on Monday morning. And prior to that, we will be preparing some scenarios, ideas for what we can do around communication, around options, to engage maybe with our families who are able to assist during this very finite period. I also actually have a message for Scott and Adam around, if we could throw money at this problem, right? What could we do? So let's say money's no object. I know we can never say that in public education, but this is clearly an issue of priority for all of us. And if funds were not were a barrier, my question to them is: are there things that we could do that would make a difference? And I see that Ms. Ellison has stepped up as well.
I think the only thing that I would add, and I'm probably not going to speak from a super knowledgeable place, but I do know that our principals worked very closely with families that were experiencing hardships last year to put parents in touch with the transportation subsidies that or reimbursement or whatever we're calling it that we're able to provide to connect students to digital learning if they weren't able to make it in. So I think, first and foremost, we want to have bus service for everyone, but absolutely it is a priority for our schools and our teachers to help support the students.
And I also want to say I need to urge Trustee Church to manage his expectations and my ability to act on this. I do have some ideas longer term around how we can address some of these issues. I don't know. I just need to be really upfront. I don't know what we can do in the next 7 weeks, but we will do everything we can, and I will find the funding to do whatever it is that Scott tells me we need to do. But we won't leave any stone unturned. I can promise you that. I just can't promise you what the outcome will be in terms of our ability to transport every child on the first day of school, because I won't make promises we can't keep.
I can just see Mark Mathers right now having a brain aneurysm.
Right. Sorry, Mark.
All right.
Let's see.
You,
You good? You're good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Madam Superintendent. Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President, excuse me.
It's okay.
So how many weeks would that entail for the rotation schedule for up until fall? I mean, how many weeks?
It's 7 weeks.
Is it 7 weeks?
I counted.
But how many weeks would it be for each tier to not have bus service?
What do we have? We have 500. We have 4 tiers, so almost 2 tiers. We have 4 tiers, so that would be 8 weeks. If they're, and it's a 7. Unless I count it wrong, it's 7 weeks from the first week of school. So that would be approximately 2 weeks.
So there's each tier would be affected.
Approximately 2 weeks.
For about 2 weeks, okay. Up until the fall break, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds, confidence is pretty high that this problem could be resolved after fall break, from what I'm hearing.
Obviously, there's an awful lot of variables in play, but most recent trends and all efforts that we've discussed here today give us a level of confidence to make this statement regarding fall break. And of course, improving levels of service every time we get a new resource available to us.
Thank you, Trustee Weaver. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Lee, Scott, Adam, are there steps that you think we could take? I mean, you've clearly thought through a lot of the ideas that we have here and have shared with us the limitations to executing on those, which I understand. But are there steps that we could be taking if we were to allocate resources or do something differently that could help with this that we haven't thought of or addressed? Like, do you have a wish list, if you will, for what we could do differently?
If you could convince retired CDL drivers to come back, if they're already trained.
That's fast, no?
Our problem is the training time that it's going to take to be able to get everybody through. We are getting the applications. We are hiring people. We're trending in a positive direction slowly, but it's just the training time. If we could somehow access former drivers, retired drivers, in any CDL holder to come and work for us during that time.
So thank you. So to that end, and this is for Michelle Anderson and Emily just to hear, I mean, could we take out some billboards to target our retired CDL drivers and others? I mean, if we think that's a potential pool that would help with this, what could we do there to accelerate?
Great question. Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer for the record. We have a Monday recruiting call where we talk about our to-dos and ta-das, and this was actually something that came up on the call this week. So there is a PERS retiree association, for lack of a better way to say it, that we are following up with. Michelle's team has already graciously offered to put out a press release regarding a retiree hiring event. So specific to PERS retirees, and we're hoping that by having such a targeted event, the news channels will pick that up and cover it as well. Because it's not just retired Washoe County employees that can come to work for us on critical needs. Any PERS retiree in the state of Nevada can come to work for us on critical needs.
And billboards and other ways to get, I'm really, nothing is off the table. I mean, I think that we're all in agreement that we need to find a way to transport our children. So I'd like every potential idea to be put on the table.
And I can let Michelle talk about the media. We just did another $20,000 ad buy on various channels, media, or radio, TV, and billboard. Oh, and movie theater. We've had good luck with movie theater advertising.
I've actually seen that. I will say this, just really, this is something that's it just hits me in my heart, as you can tell. But again, please don't think it's because I don't think anyone's trying or working and that you don't care. That isn't the case at all. I just want to know that for the sake of our students, right, and our families, that we really have done every single thing that we can. And if there's some things we haven't done now that we did in January, we should do those things, because they might give us 2 or 3 people. I mean, we're 20 away from being where we want to be, and 2 or 3, that's another area, right, another shaded area that we may be able to pull in. That doesn't have to have that based upon need and so on. So that's where I'm coming from, is being able to say we know we absolutely did everything that we could and pulled in as many as we could so we can make this happen. So,
Emily, if I could just add, Emily kind of alluded to it earlier, but there is a mechanism whereby we can actually reimburse parents for transporting students. I believe we availed of ourselves of that a bit last school year, but it wasn't maybe taken advantage of as broadly as it may be. That is one of many tools. There are many others that we have used in the past and are continuing to analyze further that we didn't go into detail here, whether it's double runs, consolidation. We actually are actively engaged with the consultant who's seeking to optimize the distribution of our runs, a variety of other creative or innovative solutions. Even the data-driven restoration of service is something relatively unprecedented as we converse with other transportation leaders across the nation who are all suffering from similar issues. The hub system that we implemented last year, when it comes to funding, I think it's not unfamiliar to most of you, but worth recognizing that we actually eliminated some 43 full-time positions to even fund the salary increases that we did materialize, and affecting that midsummer, advertising that and causing the results takes time in addition to the training. So it's unfortunately taking longer than we had hoped, but you're right, all things are on the table. And I will just, to close the loop on the charters, absolutely assure everybody that we'll be reaching out. It is a tool available to us that we will endeavor to avail ourselves of.
Thank you, Mr. Searcy. You mentioned one thing. Does this, as you've laid out for us in great detail, and thank you again for that, does it include any double runs? Would double runs potentially have an impact?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It will include some double runs. We're looking at where we can do that effectively to create some sort of driver savings. As far as if we went to what we did before previously, full-blown double runs in the afternoon, it's not going to create the savings for everybody to go to school. There's going to be some folks who would not be able to be transported. We don't have enough drivers for it.
Right. I mean, the issue, and that's why eliminating the positions is not a big deal, because we didn't have the drivers. So, I remember the decision to do that. I guess my question was, would double runs help us be able to pick up more kids at the end of the day? that's...
Yeah, we're certainly looking at that, and we're going to incorporate that wherever we can. if we can service more students, we're going to incorporate what we can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Searcy, you wanted to add to that, and then we'll go to Ms.
I think
Ellison.
that just to reiterate that is a tool in our toolbox amongst many that we are actively utilizing and will continue to explore opportunities to use that and other similar outside of the box type of solutions.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Ellison?
Emily Ellison, Chief Human Resources Officer. In my enthusiasm for recruiting, I fear that I may have provided a little bit of misinformation. It is important to know that just possessing a CDL does not mean you can get in a bus tomorrow. There is still the student endorsement component, which adds some training time. So we appreciate all the ideas, but I also wanted to make sure that I didn't leave anyone with the impression that if we could just go find people who possess a CDL, everything would be fine. So certainly helps, but.
Well, it's a good start, but thank you for the clarification, right? Thank you. Yes, Trustee Smith?
Thanks, President Taylor. I have a question, and it's fine if we don't know the answer right now, but wanted to raise it. Count Day. If Count Day happens to happen at a time when we're not providing transportation, how could that possibly affect things? It's just something to think about. I don't know if we have that answer now, but doesn't Count Day usually happen before fall break?
We don't have count days anymore.
Oh, okay. We don't do that anymore?
It's not, we don't have a particular, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a particular, Dr. Parks, we don't have, it's done differently. We don't have a particular day like we used to. On this day, this is count day, it's done differently with the new funding. Dr. Parks?
Thank you.
Thank you, President Taylor. You're correct. Mark and Jeff could go much more into detail about how we now have quarterly
average daily
counts, ADA. For internal purposes, we will do a count day, but that will be more for making sure our allocations in each school are correct. And we'll start those basically week 1 internally to make sure that we're looking at allocations and where we might need more teachers and where we might need to be possibly overaging.
Thank you, Dr. Parks.
Great. So then that means we would have an awareness on which schools or students seem to obviously not be able to get themselves to school and how this would impact them, so that wouldn't affect a teacher being overaged or anything like that.
Correct. Yes, we would be looking at that and accounting for where we know that they're having attendance issues if they are.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Other comments? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. This is something that's critically important, as I know you know, and I know all of us appreciate all the work that you and your teams have done on it. Every single rock, because one more kid in school is worth it. Okay. Thank you so much. Yep. It is. I know we're an hour and 45 minutes in. You want to take a quick break or keep pushing? What? Just keep pushing. Okay, we'll keep on going. Let's do it. 3.02, presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve and accept NV Energy Incentives and Nevada Division of Environmental Protection Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, or DERA, grant funds to cover the cost of acquisition of 2 electric buses, as well as the acquisition and installation of 2 charging stations in the total approximate amount of $1,157,935. And before us remains Dr. Searcy and Dr. Geddes. Still for a little bit longer, Regent Geddes.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to introduce this one again for the record, Adam Searcy. This is
Mr. Lee, sorry.
Yeah, these two gentlemen are going to run the show. I just wanted to introduce them briefly. This is essentially a grant application. Would typically go under consent, but we wanted to maybe highlight it and celebrate it as an electric school bus type of opportunity pilot program. So as you mentioned before us, our Director of Transportation, Scott Lee, and Dr. Jason Geddes, our Energy and Sustainability Manager. I think Scott will kick it off.
All right, thank you. Scott Lee, Director of Transportation. This particular grant, we're looking at getting 2 78-passenger Type D Bluebird school buses. These are the larger flat-nose buses that carry the most students. You've seen them running around town, maybe not electric, but these buses have up to 120-mile range. That's what's advertised. Actual application might be a little bit lower depending on the types of routes that we put them on, temperature, electrical demand, things like that. We would look at putting these out of our south yard right now. We had a site walk that was conducted and determined that we can probably put up to 12, I believe, on there, if we were able to expand. But right now, we're only looking at 2. We want to see what these units do and how they perform. They are rather expensive at $503,000 a piece. That's also increased from when we initially started looking at this program. With inflation, all school bus prices have increased, all parts prices have increased. So they're not by any means cheap. We would also be installing 2 chargers, and we would expect for the buses themselves 6 to 9 months is what we're being told. I would expect it to be closer to 8 or 9 months before we receive delivery of those buses.
So originally again, Jason Geddes, for the record, when we originally applied for these grant funds, we were looking to put them in the main transportation yard, but because of all the work that's going on over there and the redesign that you all approved, it didn't seem feasible, and the south transportation yard made a lot of sense. As I mentioned, we did walk it. We have been working with NV Energy to assess that we have all the energy needs available. The one last thing we have to do there is get a ballpark estimate from NV Energy if we have to do an upgrade on the main transformer going into the facility. It doesn't look like we will have to, but we're still waiting on that final assessment. And I kind of put these in reverse order. Just so you know, the program is the 2019 legislature created through SB 299, the electric bus incentive program. Then the Public Utilities Commission put together how the program would run, and then NV Energy made grants available, and NDEP, using their DERA funds, put in a match. So basically it's a 75% from NV Energy and 25% from NDEP through the DERA program. And we pursued this per Board Policy 7400, which you all adopted 5 years ago, and you're going to see the update next month. But it's just around alternative fuels and clean transportation. And really the whole thing was to focus on electrifying the fleet. And as Scott said, the intention with these first 2 buses is to see how they work in our fleet, with staff, with drivers, if we have drivers, and how all of that will come together and make sure that it will work for us in that regards. Was this from you or me? This is you.
Yeah, I'll take this one. There is the Clean School Bus Rebate Funding Program that's big in the news right now. That's roughly $5 billion that's given out in grants over the next 5 years. $500 million of that is dedicated to zero emissions buses, and $500 million, this is per year, is dedicated to low or zero emissions. So they can be used for electric buses, CNG buses, liquid propane buses as well. This is not tied to that grant, but I've had so many people reach out to me with this information. I wanted to mention that it is there. We are aware of it, and we may apply to it in the future, but not at this time.
And Lauren's very aware of it. So just wanted you to know where it is basically we put in a reservation for the funds. So NDEP and NV Energy have set aside the money for the school district. If you decide to accept it today, then we would finalize the agreements with NV Energy and NDEP and order the buses, and then put out an RFP for the electric charging stations to get them installed. As I mentioned, you guys approved the changes for the main bus yard. So as that develops and goes forward, we're planning on putting in all the infrastructure so that we can electrify the main bus yard fleet. if this works and as it becomes available, so we'll keep working on that. And there are several EV charging station options, and we'll be evaluating those through the RFP as far as the ones we're getting now. And then going forward, we'll be looking at new technology that'll be more of a smart grid technology with the buses. And pretty much that's it.
Okay,
We're quick.
Why don't we start with public comment first? No public comment on this? Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead, please.
I was
Dr. Geddes?
just going to say, if you approve it today, we will finalize the agreements. We will order the buses, and we're specifically asking you to accept the NDP and NV Energy grants so that we can take that next step.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Trustee Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. I know I was going to get this over the weekend, and so I just want to be sure, just for the public. So this is a grant that's specifically for changing over to electric buses and whatnot. Because I know we just had a presentation, we don't have bus drivers, but we have X amount of millions for electronic buses. This is very specific to this, correct, for changing over?
Yeah, the DEAR program and the NV Energy program are specific for school district electrification of buses.
Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Good clarification. Clerk Manetto, and then Vice President Nicolette, and then over to Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you so much for this, and thank you, Madam President. So my understanding is that the longevity of these buses is about the same as a diesel bus. I know that.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting at this point in time. The warranty itself is longer for, the warranties are the same for the main powertrain, so for the electric motor and all of those parts. The warranty for the battery packs is longer. That's 8 years or 125,000 miles. So it's got a considerable warranty on those.
And I'm thinking, so I'm thinking way down the road, what happens to these batteries after they quit being used? Do they get buried out in Nevada somewhere? Which is kind of scary.
It is possible. A lot of the companies have take-back programs where they will take them back. And as you've probably read about, there is a firm down in Carson City that has a facility out in Trick, Redwood, that is actually designed to recycle these types of batteries.
Okay. And if I may, I think I had one more question. Are we looking at getting a whole fleet, a big picture, or is this just kind of right now? Because what if we have to go to Elko and...
That's right. No, we're looking at seeing what these particular units are going to do. This technology is relatively new to the medium-duty school bus market, 5 years old or so, and is constantly evolving. It is going to be, there is a lot of funding that's being dumped into this, and it's going to be a component that could be integrated into hybrid situations and things like that. But what we're looking at is diversifying as much as we can. Currently, 20% of our fleet is propane as well. We're going to be expanding that in addition, but we're exhaust emissions, overall emissions, EPA emissions requirements, there we go, are going to be reduced considerably over the next few years, which is going to make diesel engines very difficult to compete, and some people are going to end up dropping out of that. So the availability of those particular engines is going to go down, the price is going to go up. We're going to have more issues with parts, things like that. Even Cummins is looking at, they're a major diesel manufacturer, they're looking at a medium-duty propane engine based off of one of their blocks because the emissions requirements are becoming so stringent.
Okay, 2 years ago I bought myself a hybrid, and I'm really, really happy with that, especially now. But now here's a question I don't know if we know an answer to. Somebody somewhere probably does. Don't we have to burn coal for electricity? I mean, how is it totally renewable energy, or do we know that?
Well, here in northern Nevada, we don't really burn coal. It's primarily natural gas that comes out of the Tracy Power Plant is the biggest part of our load. But actually, with the amount of geothermal that we have on the grid, it's about 50% geothermal at nighttime, So when we'd be charging these buses, the electricity source is 50% geothermal, 50% natural gas, has some solar in there. But so it is much cleaner than just burning the diesel, and it's also much easier to contain the emissions like at the Tracy Power Plant versus 400 buses.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Clerk Manetto. Vice President Nicolette, and then Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you, Madam President. I think you've probably had some marvelous conversations between the energy expert and the transportation expert, and so I appreciate your work on this, and I have a great deal of respect for both of your expertise, and I want us to move forward in this direction. We know it's a study in and of itself. I also know that you've done your homework. My questions really revolve around sustainability issues. Well, but first I will say, does a driver have to have any special training?
Not any certificated training or anything like that. We would go over driver training. We do on our propane buses as well, because a lot of the mileage that you're going to get out of driving it a certain way is related to driving it a certain way. So if they're running it on hills and have a lead foot, the charge is going to go down a lot faster. Whereas if they use regenerative braking during the right times, they can increase their charge and increase their overall range. So that sort of training does need to happen, but that's very short. It can be done within a day.
Wonderful.
The biggest training would be for the mechanics who service the buses, and the cost of their training is built into the grant.
Dr. Geddes, you read my mind. Don't do that anymore. That was my next question, was the mechanics part, so you answered that. And then long-term maintenance. How will we approach learning what that means? Because we know that with any new endeavor, there's always interesting evolution of what's going on and how to maintain. So what will that look like?
I'll take the first swing and then he'll correct me. So I always jump out and say things that are fantastic, and then he grounds me. But basically, the systems are much simpler and much less maintenance, because you get rid of the oil changes, you get rid of a lot of the fluids. There's a coolant fluid with battery. But you get rid of a lot of moving parts that are in a diesel bus, because it's a electric motor that sits on the drive line and pushes the bus. So the annual maintenance requirements go way down. And there have been studies on electric cars, electric buses, and RTC's been running their system for quite a while. So there is a lot of data out there as far as how that works. We just need to figure out how it integrates into the school district fleet.
Everything that he had just said is spot on. I will say one of the other things, it can be difficult as you're going through the process to learn about what to expect next and how long this is going to last. But we have, I do a fair amount of collaborating. I was on a call with Greater City Schools this morning and several transportation directors, and we were discussing EVs and implementation and what that looks like. We're also discussing driver shortages. There was a Green Summit last week here in Reno, so I got to go over charging systems, talk with other directors who had apprehensions or concerns about adopting this sort of thing, and those who have been doing it for the last 5 years, and things that went well for them and things that did not go well. So I think we can help mitigate a lot of issues just by maintaining that connection and that communication.
Just one more quick question. We purchased a data system to help us maximize our transportation routes. Did I describe that correctly? Will this uniqueness of an electric vehicle be able to be built into that work?
Yeah, that'll be able to be built in. It's just going to have different mileage limits and constraints.
Thank you, Dr. Nicolette. Trustee Mayberry?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is a great step in the right direction. And, if we could get self-driving buses, that would probably solve all our problems, right? But the real question I have is, so one electric bus is about $503,000. What does that compare to a regular diesel bus that we have now? Thank you.
With the current price increases that we're seeing, a regular diesel bus is probably I don't have that information directly in front of me. I would say about $180,000.
Thank you. I have a question. I'm sorry, go ahead. Dr. Geddes?
Is that with our package, or is that list price?
Yeah, that's with our package and upgrades that are associated with that. For example, fire suppression is, engine or motor fire suppression is required in the state of Nevada. There's an additional add-on there. We have radios, we have video systems, we have seat belts that are required, so every seat has to have seat belts on it. That's a premium upgrade. Air conditioning, okay. All of those things are what inflate the price above the base.
So it's almost twice the cost of a standard bus that we have now, if not more. Okay. No, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mayberry. This just goes right with what you were just saying, Mr. Lee. So in the, we know we're paying more, but in the long run, will it save us money? I mean, that's what the trade. I'm looking at Mr. Lee and he's looking at Dr. Geddes. So it doesn't matter, whichever.
We wouldn't have bought them without the grant money available. Okay. With the increased price. The long-term ROI, it was actually much worse last year, where diesel prices are now.
Yeah.
That's come down, but it still wouldn't be economical for us to do it ourselves without a federal or local grant.
Okay. And how about the maintenance? Is it about the same cost-wise?
No, it's not the same at all. That's where you will see, and one of the performance indicators I guess we'll be looking at is the cost per mile. So the total cost per mile, not just the cost of the vehicle, but the annual maintenance costs and things like that. And that's where you see the savings. Annual maintenance on these, I can't remember. You had sent me a chart, but it was about $1,000 a year, I want to say. It was very minimal, whereas annual fuel and maintenance costs on one of our regular buses is $10,000 to $11,000.
Okay.
So
it does save us money. I mean, it would take a much longer time to get if we paid out of pocket to get our money back, but in terms of the maintenance of it, then there's certainly some gains. And certainly, and that absolutely. Along the way, let's not put the emissions out there, right? And that's valuable. Right, certainly.
And I just will add is, we're selecting Title I routes because it is back to the social justice where we have diesel buses idling next to Title I schools. We're trying to replace those with the electric buses. So for the first two, those are the routes we're focusing on. And as we expand, that would be the intention, is to focus at where the air quality issues are the greatest.
Well, that certainly makes sense because in those neighborhoods around those schools, they have more air quality issues. And so this helps to not contribute to that. So absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Trustee Church?
Thank you. I was going to just say that air quality is not a monetary thing, but it's so important. And today it's evident. Right. And just since Trustee Minetto asked, believe it or not, I happen to have the figures. I'll put them out really quickly. 47% of our electricity comes from natural gas, 29% from coal, which may be from out of state, and then 12% from solar. So there's your...
Here in our community?
Yeah, Nevada Energy here, yes.
Oh, NV Energy right here, okay.
Yes. So I just happen to have that.
All right.
There'll be a quiz.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? This is an action item. They're looking for approval to accept the incentives from NV Energy and the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection diesel emissions reduction grant application.
Yeah, I'll move to approve and accept the NV Energy incentive and Nevada Division of Environmental Protection Diesel Emissions Reduction Act grant funds to cover the cost of 2 electric buses, as well as the acquisition and installation of 2 charging stations, in total amount of $1.16 million. Rounding up.
Ish.
Ish.
Ish. Okay, motion on the floor from Trustee Mayberry, seconded by Dr. Nicolette. Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had that already. Thank you. Nope, no public. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Opposition? All right, the motion carries. Let the record show that it is unanimous. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your work. It'd be good to see those buses. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, board reports. Do we have any board reports? We'll go around. We'll just start over here with you, Trustee Mayberry, and work our way around. I know it's summertime, but sometimes people have something. If we have any board reports.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I do want to welcome Superintendent Enfield. Really nice to have you here, and look forward to a long and prosperous career with Washoe County School District. You're already making a difference, so thank you for coming on board. I also wanted to, we were so busy spending time honoring our outgoing superintendent at the last meeting. I do want to congratulate my colleague Beth Smith for her election win back in June. So delighted that you're with us for the long haul, and you've been a real great advocate for this district. I'm very proud to serve with you.
Yes, good to have you.
Also, had a privilege to attend the Women of Achievement Luncheon, honor outgoing Superintendent Krista McNeil and President Taylor, and all the amazing women that serve our community. Also had a chance to tour Hug High last Friday. Really fantastic, phenomenal high school, and our students are really blessed to have an opportunity to attend that school come the fall, come August. Also want to just acknowledge, I think this was in one of our emails, but Public Media Journalists Association's annual award, first place was given to KUNR's Youth Media Program, and that's a partnership with our school district. And there were a number of student reporters that were recognized. I don't want to mingle their names, but I'll try that. Wesley Capio, Kathleen Leslie, Janelle, Alicia, Fiona Parole, Kendall Richter, Nick Stewart, Avery Thunder, and May Wells. And we have our staff, too, that's part of that program. So hats off to them. Journalism is something is near and dear to my heart. I work closely with in the journalism profession. So. And finally, I have enough time, my good friend Pete Etchart. I don't want to get teary-eyed, but I've served with Pete for the city of Sparks prior to serving here, and I was frankly looking forward to spending a lot more time with you. But you're a man of integrity, and I appreciate all that you've done for this community and for this school district. God bless you. I will miss you, and good luck to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trustee Mayberry. Dr. Nicolette.
Well, I'm just going to do a quick ditto, and that gives me more time to concentrate on the KUNR. I'm going to extend that a little bit. Received 4 regional Murrow Awards. That's the Edward R. Murrow. And to kind of extend the information that you provided, they received an Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for their KUNR Youth Media Program. And you highlighted the students. Thank you. The instructor is Robert Zorn, who teaches video production, photography, and journalism at the Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology. And at KUNR, Lucia Starbuck is a program coordinator. And so really what this highlights is the program receives support from the Washoe County School District work-based learning programs that are facilitated by the Career and Technical Education Department, as well as Report for Nevada. So I think it really illuminates the importance of our partnerships and how our teachers and our bus drivers and all of our employees that support our students, it still takes our community working together to continue to help our students and broaden their horizons. And so KUNR is truly a wonderful partner. And I've had some relaxing time this summer. I went and visited a few schools to the principals, and it was actually, there was a duality about it. It was quiet, And it was a little uncomfortable because there were no kiddos and teachers and custodians and nutrition workers there, but I got to have some great conversations because we weren't interrupted by all the wonderful fabulosities that happen in a school day. So thank you, and it's good to be back. I missed all my colleagues, and I missed our friends in the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nicolette. Okay, Trustee Minetto.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I'm going to reiterate, I went on a different day than Trustee Mayberry to the HUG VIP tour. I was there with that girl right there, Trustee Vice President Nicolette, and our very own Superintendent, Dr. Enfield. And it's that school is just, it's a blessing. It's just a blessing. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Clerk Minetto. Clerk Rodriguez, Trustee Rodriguez, notice you're going before.
Maybe someday when I'm all grown up.
Well, on this, I made it a point to make sure you can go before Trustee Smith on this one. So
I appreciate it, but they have to follow behind Trustee Mayberry. No, it's been not as quiet as the summer as I thought it was going to be. Kind of going to go off Vice President Nicolette that it does take a community. And so I did have the opportunity to meet with our current governor and a couple legislators and council members to talk about education. So it was a leadership meet, and it was good to really advocate for our school district because it's going to be at that level where we can move forward more. I also had an opportunity to sit with one of our senators and also express that because federal funding is always nice. So. Yes. I did get to have quite a couple, it seems like a couple one-on-ones with our new superintendent, which has been really nice to discuss our future and moving forward. So a lot of moving pieces I see, but I'm really optimistic with where we're going. I did get to attend the outgoing superintendent retirement, and I got to give myself a personal tour of the new HUG. So it was really cool. It's a beautiful school and amazing view. And I tried to go up there on 4th of July to see the fireworks, but the gate was closed, so never mind.
As it should be.
Right. I was just doing security checks, making sure. Yeah. And I'm excited that I am talking to other assembly members. So as I go on school visits, I'm going to extend my invites to council members and legislators because this is a community thing. And I believe education should be seen at all forms of level of representatives. So I am working on that as well.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, President Taylor. So I'll start off by saying that I know no one wants to think about it, but school is coming up. And for anyone in the community that wants to help, we always have students in need. New backpacks cost money, so do new shoes, all of that. So I'm not going to call out specific organizations, but they're very easy to find. We have a lot of really wonderful community partners doing all sorts of drives right now for backpacks, shoes, supplies, everything. Filling and stuffing buses tends to be a theme, I guess, with a lot of these. But for anyone who is interested in being involved, there's a lot of ways to set up our kids for success. On the trustee side, I did attend the retirement party for Superintendent Dr. Kristen McNeil, and we also said goodbye to Deputy Superintendent Deborah Beiersdorf, our COO Pete Etchart, who's not quite gone, but soon, and then Area Superintendent Gina Curtis, and that was really a wonderful celebration of their many, many decades, potentially centuries of service.
I think we're up to 1,002.
We really are. We really are. That was a great event. And then that was followed by the Salute to Women of Achievement, where Dr. Kristen McNeil was honored. And I want to bring attention to the fact that we have a Hall of Famer for the Salute to Women, and that's our own president, Dr. Angie Taylor. So lots of women of achievement in this district. I also met with our new superintendent, Dr. Susan Enfield, had several meetings with her. And I do want to mention that we have some really wonderful mascots here. So I will tell you, I don't choose favorites, but I do find that the Hunter Lake Dragon is very formidable. Some might like the Marvin Moss Marmot, but there's a lot to choose from. So I would take the time, educate yourself about the mascots and see where you land on the marmot versus dragon thing. I also was able to tour the new Hug High School, which was absolutely incredible. I will not do the laundry list, but I will share a fun fact. Those baseball fields you see out there, they just look like baseball fields. They are much more than that. Underneath, those baseball fields are just the top level. Underneath, there are hundreds of tanks that fuel the geothermal system that actually provides hot water at minimal energy. So there is so much more than meets the eye. I'm going to leave that there for the school. Every inch of that is built with efficiencies and wonderful things. So that's my fun fact for the day. And then I'm going to close with this. Today is my 1-year anniversary as a trustee. Yes, thank you so much. I raised my hand and took that oath, and I will say that there are moments in life that are before and after. It changes your life. And raising my hand and being chosen by this body is a before and after in my life. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity, for serving, for our community, for everything. So thank you so much. It's been an amazing year.
What a year. What a year. What a year. Thank you so much, Trustee Smith. Trustee Church.
Thank you. That's a hard act to follow.
It is.
And the marmot thing, that's an inside joke, but well done.
Well played.
Done.
Well played.
Well done. I also attended the Hug High tour. It was excellent. Drove down to Carson City and I actually attended in person their last Department of Education meeting. It's a little more impressive in person, getting to see the people, and I did speak on some of the issues that I advocate for. And I am on the Nevada Association of School Board board, and so I attended that by Zoom. We talked about journalism. I want to call out, and I'm going to be specific, KOLO. I think they did a disservice to themselves. I watched the superintendent on the news. She did an excellent job yesterday fending off some of those questions. But KOLO, they tried to do a couple little gotcha questions that I thought were inappropriate. For one thing, they said, and this is a quote, about people in general, often making false claims about curriculum policies and within districts. You know, we all disagree sometimes, we all agree sometimes, and one person's false claim or misinformation is another person's reality. So I think we need to be really careful, especially the media, when they accuse people of false information. You know, there's stats for everything. So, and Dr. Enfield did such a wonderful job of fighting that off and addressing that. And then they started to address threats against superintendents or school board members. And again, she did an excellent job. But I want to ask KLLO, put up or shut up. Show me a crime report. Show me an arrest. Show me a video where somebody's making threats. Sometimes people can be a little rude. They can be pretty caustic. But when you're referring to the term threats, if you're going to put that on the media as fact, then show me, because I've never seen one. They're probably out there, but I haven't seen it. So I just want to caution the media to be a little more careful in their terms. But once again, the superintendent did an excellent job of addressing the media in her brand new role here. And I welcome her for that. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Church. Just a couple of things. I won't repeat any of the amazing things that we've had the chance to all participate in. So thank you for that, trustees. Point out there are a couple of things upcoming. Upcoming on Monday at 11 a.m., the ribbon cutting for O'Brien, for the reopening of O'Brien, really a brand new school behind the old school, right, at 11 a.m. on Monday. And then at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, ribbon cutting for Hug High School. In addition, a really kind of an introduction to the community, if you will. The Feimster Family Resource Center is right there out in front, and I know the Feimster family will be there, and they're very excited about it. The Hug family will be there. They're very excited about it. So it's just a great celebration to happen. I was able to attend a celebration of the 50 years of Title IX at the Governor's Mansion last week, and it was a big fundraiser. The fundraiser itself is like 55 years old. It's for athletics, and for the first time, they had a female speaker in honor of Title IX, Rebecca Lobo. So it was just, yeah, absolutely. So just an amazing celebration. We know Title IX is really important in our district, not just for athletics, but that's how it certainly began, was in athletics. Across the board, high school athletics, believe it or not, that's how it started. And 50 years later, so many young women have had an opportunity to participate in athletics, myself one of them, and just go on to some great things. So, and then finally, I have a little something. For your first meeting. Thank you. Work it. You're very welcome. All right. And that's my report. That's it. That's right. Madam Superintendent, Superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, President Taylor, and thank you, Trustee Church, Trustee Smith, Trustee Rodriguez, Clerk Minetto, and Vice President Nicolette, and Trustee Mayberry, and of course, President Taylor, for welcoming me. I have to say, and Anthony. Sorry. Okay, Mr. Hall. Yeah, sorry. I was just
He's just here.
Sorry about that. It is fun to be on this side of the dais. The last time I was over there,
yeah,
so here's to many years ahead of being here. But I do, before I make my brief comments, I do also want to acknowledge Pete. Pete, I feel like I'm really losing out not having more of an opportunity to work with you. The brief time that I've had to work with you, you really are exceptional, not just at what you do, but just in who you are. So I want to thank you for your service to the district and to the broader community in your prior roles. We may reach out to you for some help, and we hope that you won't be a stranger, but we certainly hope that you enjoy this well-deserved next chapter of your life. So thank you, Pete.
Yes. Stand up for Pete.
Yeah, that's worth a standing ovation.
Absolutely.
Get your CDL, Pete.
That's a $2,000 referral right there. That's
exactly. The theme of my remarks today is really going to be one of gratitude. I want to thank everyone in the district and the broader community who has given me such a warm welcome to the Washoe County School District community. As I said to a number of people, it's pretty rare in life where where reality exceeds your expectations. And I have to say that the reality of being here has far exceeded what I had hoped for when I took the leap and made the move. It already feels like home. And for that, I am deeply grateful for the people, my team, and especially the magnificent triumvirate of JJ and Tammy and Vanjie, yes, who clearly have quickly become my little partners in everyday work and life, and they've been absolutely wonderful and very forgiving of all of my, I'm sure, annoying questions and getting all the things wrong that I'm getting wrong. I do just want to reiterate my commitment to supporting Scott and all of our team on addressing the transportation challenges that we have. And I want to commit that we will do everything in our power to be in a very different place a year from now when we open school on the first day of school next year. But I want to thank Scott and his team for all that they're doing. And I'm here to support you in whatever you need in order to make that happen. And I just want to let the trustees know that we are hoping that at our next meeting, we will be able to unveil my entry plan. I see Michelle nodding her head. We're putting the finishing touches on that. And as I shared in my media interviews yesterday, the theme is really going to be on number 1, educating our students. Number 2, building bridges with our families and community. And number 3, making sure that every staff member in Washoe County School District feels valued and seen and supported. So more to come on that. And finally, I just want to say, too, that I want to thank Michelle for arranging the interviews with the media yesterday. They were very, very quick interviews, about 10 minutes apiece, because I don't have that much more to say right now. I'm very much in learning mode, but clearly we'll be giving much more in-depth interviews once I have learned more and we've unveiled my entry plan and I've had some time in schools and gotten to meet more staff. But for right now, just thank you everybody for the warm welcome, and I do feel like I've won the lottery landing here in this community and serving as your superintendent. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Infield. Thank you, Dr. Infield. We feel like we've won the lottery too. So as we move forward, looking forward to your tenure here. Okay, let's go on to public comment. I think we have a few, JJ.
John Eppolito.
Mr. Gallimore, stop playing around. Mr. Eppolito, welcome, sir. I caught you.
Should have never invited him. My name is John Eppolito. I'm with Protect Nevada Children. You can find 1,500 of us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children. At the Washoe County School District Superintendent Forum at Worcester High School in April, this question was read to the candidates. Quote, when it comes to collecting and storing student personal information, data, and schoolwork, Nevada is one of the worst states in the country. We have 2 massive databases that collect, store, and share student discipline, medical, counseling, and psychiatric data. Infinite Campus and SANE. This data is never deleted. Do you have any concerns with how all this stored data may affect the future of our children? End quote. The Nevada Superintendent of Public Instruction, in her response, she said, quote, all of what the author wrote here is true, end quote. In responding to the same question, Superintendent Enfeld said something like, in her response, she used the term serious allegations, end quote. Superintendent Enfeld, experts have called Infinite Campus the most massive database ever created on children in human history. And student data in Infinite Campus is stored forever. 82-page database, 2,000 data fields. Some of these data fields could have 13 years of data in them. Parents of Washoe County School District students can go and see all the data stored in Infinite Campus, and you can start at protectnevadachildren.org. I did this for my kids. We estimate for most kids by the time they graduate high school, the database they could print out would be between 300 and 400 pages. And for kids with discipline, counseling, or psychiatric issues, that database could easily be over 500 pages. In addition, the most incriminating data in Infinite Campus is uploaded to the Nevada NDE's SANE database. The SANE database is 49 pages, about 1,000 data fields. This data is also never deleted. The main reason I keep coming to these meetings is no one really knows how simply the existence of these databases may affect the future of our children. Nobody knows. Protect Nevada Children would very much like to participate in a discussion concerning the implications of these databases on the future of our children and possible strategies to minimize the negative impact these databases will likely have on the future of our children. You can find 1,500 of us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children, and for parents watching, if you're in Washoe County School District, protectnevadachildren.org. Toward the bottom of the page, you can get your data, the full database on your kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eppolito.
You're welcome.
Don Gallimore.
Welcome, Mr. Gallimore.
Hello. Hello there, good afternoon. Don Gallimore, Senior. Pretty much everything. NAACP, I guess I'll protect. I am a board member, partner with John Eppolito at Protect Nevada Children, Plan, Action, Faith in Action. I mean, name 3 letters and I'm probably involved in it. It's good to see all of you again after a year and a half. Shoot, that's been a long time. But except for you, of course. But, you know, we're out here just making sure that our children are safe. We've had so many data breaches with Protecting Nevada Children. Nevada, what were we before?
We started out as Common Core.
Well, we were fighting Common Core. We were just making sure that all the precepts were, we could work them out with our children. I've had 3 of my 5 children go through the school system, and I've got 4 out of my 8 grandchildren. and so I'll be still instrumental in this. But I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Eppolito's dreams of having the privacy of his students, his kids' data, can be continued. His kids are going to be going to college soon, and so he's going to say, forget this board, I've done as much as I can. But this is such an important thing. I met him back in 2000, probably 14, 15, and I've been working against Common Core before that I met him. And so this is extremely personal to John, and he was able to convey that to me, and I'm going to continue with that. On another note, I'll just go to what he was talking about with community, the CIS, having all the information. I've always been concerned because Edmodo was the umbrella company that now is owned by the Chinese. It has all of our all of our personal information. You saw his pages of files that the students have to fill out all that information. And so I've been trying to help with the students not have to fill that out so that the data, and we've been working against Microsoft and Google and Apple and the UK and Utah and California. They're saying that this data is detrimental to our kids.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallimore, your time is up, sir.
My time is never up.
Yeah.
All right. But that's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to bring it to...
Thank you, sir. I got to stop you. I got to stop you. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you
very
much.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Kaylin Evans.
President Evans, I believe,
Yes.
sir. Welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you, School Board Trustees, Superintendent Enfield. My name is Kaylin Evans, for the record, and I am the new president of the Washoe Education Association. I've given public comment many times before in my life, but I really am honored to give my first public comment representing the nearly 2,600 members that we have, and ultimately the 4,000 plus certified staff that we have working for our school district. But I use the word staff, but that isn't the word I should be using because it's professionals. You have 4,000 plus certified professionals working for you, Dr. Enfield. And it's unfortunate, though, that we have a school, we have an education system that doesn't treat them as such. Our ability to address a lot of these issues, we understand, is how we operate as a district. But ultimately, it's how we have a concerted effort together as a school district, as a board, as a labor force, and as a community to address the lack of state funding that our district is ultimately provided by state legislatures. We have to bring that concerted effort together going into this legislative session full force to address a lot of these issues. When we think about how competitive of a job market we have, we will never be able to fully function, fully staff our schools if we don't address the lack of competitive wages for employees. While competitive wages are important, there are a number of factors that influence working conditions that we, all understand. And while we may not have full control over how well we're able to provide financial support to our employees, there are working conditions that we can start to address as a school district, that we have the authority to start addressing piece by piece. And I look forward, Dr. Enfield, to working with you directly on how we can start to address some of these working conditions for our employees. I just want to say, on behalf of the association and members, and I know I speak on behalf of our employees in the district, how much we appreciate having, some of our supportive trustees on this board to not only show us support through words, but through actions. We've been hearing how supported and how appreciated we are for years, but now it's nice that we're actually seeing trustees start to put that into action. And then, Dr. Enfield, I just want to say that we are very excited as an association for the opportunity to work collaboratively with you, and excited for a new vision and a new direction, and ultimately being able to work together to provide the type of support that our employees need, because we have to understand that in order for us to provide the type of education and support that our students need, it's directly correlated to supporting the employees that work with them every single day. We can't have one without the other. Thank you.
Thank you, President Evans. I mean, Evans, yeah. Caitlin Evans, right. You know. Thank you.
Shannon Coley.
Ms. Coley, welcome.
I just wanted to give an update. I had talked to you guys about how the Nevada Department of Education took away our local authority to pick out textbooks and instructional materials. And I contacted them, and I just wondered how they did it without the legislature, and the Board of Education up there just took it away from our local. What did it say? Sorry, they unilaterally took the power away from our local district. And I got a response that said from Andre De Leon, who is in charge of instructional materials, said, please know that the local authority regarding the adoption of textbooks has not been taken away from your district nor any other school districts in the state of Nevada. So just so you keep aware that I thought that they were working with West Ed because that's where it was last told it was, that they were going to decide. But just so you know, we get to keep it. Yay.
Thank you for the update, Ms. Coley.
Yep.
Pablo Nava Duran.
Welcome, Mr. Duran.
Sorry, took so long. Give me one. Okay, fine. I'm gonna do without the test phone. So I did send you an email I did send an email on I did send you an email on the boardmember.com for all of you guys about the bus storage on 3.01. So I cannot target to it. Try to, but cannot. So about 3.01, and then very disappointed that on a heat map, according to heat map, Newell were on the top of a list for missing out the attendance from Newell student to the Des Moines High School. That will negatively impact their graduation academic and attendance wisely. So I think about like if I know there was a bus driver shortage nationwide, and I know you guys, I know the HR team did maybe a good job for raise up the prices a little bit, but the inflation got up, did not help the bus driver who live in a paycheck to paycheck. And I do know the many of newer students who current zone for the money or attend the money had to go on the public transportation while travel to Maywood Mall and walk to 56 to the Des Moines Parkway and walk 3 miles to Des Moines to get to Des Moines High School and then go back to there was car-wise. And if car-wise, I do know like situation should be problem solved, but it's a little more likely we need a legislative session in next year, and if Washington School District doesn't solve the bus shortage situation, I think the possibility we have to like rezone from in Smith Ridge from the Des Moines High School to Wooster Huck or Spark High School, but it seems like this is a repeatedly rezoning. It's painful the rezoning we had to face for these students. And you saw me on Facebook on Paul Duran on official Facebook. So and we do know most likely my sister will have to go on a variance to Huck High School when 24, 25 2025 school year. And also I'm a substitute teacher. Yeah, I'm newly hired as substitute teacher. Go Hawk!
Go Hawks. Thank you, Mr. Duran.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Then that concludes our meeting. Our next meeting will be right here on August 9th, 2 p.m. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.